Welcome to the Embodied Wisdom Podcast.
So today with me, I have Issamary, and I'm so excited to have you on. I'm so excited about this conversation because everything that you do is absolutely my jam. So thank you so much for being here. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself, what you do, how you help people, all the things.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for being here, and thank for everyone that is just listening to this podcast and this episode. And well, myself, my name, as you said, my name is Issamary. I'm from Latin America, half Venezuelan, half Mexican. And what I do is a mix between traditional counseling with energy work. What energy work being Reiki, quantum healing, and shamanic work too. I've been initiated as a shaman. I work with plant medicine. And on the traditional path, I've been also trained and I'm internationally certificate as a counselor. And I specialize in my work in loss, bereavement, and grief as a counselor. And I blend these two parts of the mind with a counseling part with the energetics, right? Because we're multifaceted beings. So we address the whole of a person, not only from the physical perspective, but also from the emotional plane, the physical, as I said, and that a spiritual plane. We could even go into the shamanic, into the astral plane. So we see a person like a holistic. We take the whole of a person and we address all different perspectives. And that's what my work is about, is really addressing someone not only as just a mental being, but as a whole of many different facets.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you spent so much time in counseling and that open, as we talked before, you said I would hit this door with my clients and I see that all the time. So tell me what led you from all those years of counseling into this greater healing journey that you take people on.
Yeah, as I mentioned when we were privately talking, is it's when you are working, and I'm only talking about my personal experience side. I respect and I honor other people journeys, every other therapist, how they work. But what I encounter in my own experience is that I would not only with clients, but also in my own healing journey, that it will get a moment when you hit like a wall, when you realize that just psychotherapy or normal therapy, just talking and unpacking and going all the layers, the different things of the mind or the psyche, it would not get through. We will encounter what I call the wall. That is just there is it only take me this far, but there's something more. There's something, I don't want to call it beneath or above or through, but the thing is that it was this wall there. And the only thing that in my experience have allowed me to go through that door to really address the whole thing, the whole challenge or the whole issue that the person might be encountering is when I do both, when I bridge psychology or counseling with energy. Because a lot of times when we talk about trauma, for example, or when someone goes through a heartbreak, a really challenging moment in life, there is not only your mind, it was not only involved, it was your emotions, like your physical body, but your emotional body and also your spiritual body. Like there's so many things that were involved in that experience that to address just the mind, it feels like what's with the others. So yes, you deal with that, but is that person just base, are you just formed by a mind? What happened with your heart? What happened with your soul? You need something else to address your soul and your mind.
Mhm.
And that's what we do with energy work. Either what I said, it could be quantum healing or Reiki or energy healing or shamanic work as I do, but you address that part, the parts that the mind cannot address. There's some things that the mind cannot reach. We cannot explain everything with our mind. There's some things that I feel this way and I try to go through and through and through, and then I just don't know where it's coming from. I just know I'm feeling this. But from a conscious mind, I cannot tap into what is that. That's when energy is just, then we go deeper. And that's where we go to a different, deeper level or a deeper layer that we address through shamanism or energy work. And that's why I'm super passionate about to really uncapsule that things in people. And it
Yeah.
was also not only with my clients that I see it over and over and over, but with my own healing journey that I
Yeah, I
saw.
want to get into that. I want to get into that. I want to get into because I know for most of us in the healing arts, we started by healing ourselves because we needed us at a certain point in time. That's why I feel like we're called to this work. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your story. I'm sure it starts in childhood.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little more, but yeah, please tell us your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, it's I think especially when we do this work, and I always feel the more I work in this, the more I'm convinced that in order to walk the talk, you have to embody the talk.
Mm,
You have to embody it. And what better way to embody the talk that go through it and practice, make the master? Are you going to be the one that is going to walk people from the mind to the heart? Okay, let's crack your heart open over and over again until it stays like this. And no matter what happened, you will choose to stay like this. That's my personal case, right? In my case, it started with I think that's why I work so deeply with relationships. I grew up in a very dysfunctional witnessing a very dysfunctional relationship between my parents. My dad was a womanizer and was cheating all the time to my mom. My mom stayed. So I grew up with seeing that kind of a pattern, a very toxic pattern of relationships, which brought me to obviously a most, yeah, normal that you would say is like to repeat that pattern, to go into a very toxic relationships where abuse was the norm. That led me to be physically abused and in my early 20s. And then after that, just all that, it was like a perfect brew. I know it sounds very crazy, but it was a perfect brew for me to just raise from being growing up, seeing all that dysfunctional and toxicity, repeating that patterns in my life until the point that it got me to being abused. And then not only that, but also being in a story of betrayal that it was repeating over and over and over again until a point that it ended my marriage after almost 15 years. So all that episodes, all that things together and working through all of that is what I told, okay, if I can do this, if I could heal from all that, I know this is possible. I know what we can do when we bridge the mind and the heart. I have to bring this out for other people because I'm not the only one that is healing. I'm not the only one that has been cracked open. I don't like to use the word broken. A lot of people is about healing the brokenness. And I'm like, no, you're not broken. You were cracked open.
yeah, I
So
love that.
yeah, so being cracked open, I'm not the only one. I think the most like majority of people in this planet has been cracked open more than once.
Hmm.
And it's to really learn from that and rise from that space, not letting that space define you or not letting that space become your self, your being, but knowing that you're so much more than that episode. You're so much more of that. I'm so much more than my dad cheating on my mom, that my mom being abusive to my mom. I'm so much more than the person that abused me. I'm so much more of all that things that happened in my life. So much more. And you too. And everyone. So it's really all that. That's what really moved me to say, I need to share this.
Hmm.
I need to share it.
Yeah, and that brings me to my next question. So you're on your fourth book, and I'm
Yeah.
excited to learn about all of them, but let's just focus on your fourth one for now that's coming out because I feel like it is so necessary right now. The people are going through so many heartbreaks, we'll call them,
Mhm.
for the loss of relationships. And whether this is a physical death or much more than that, this book touches on all of it. So I'd love for you to kind of talk about, first of all, what inspired it for you, and then what it actually does for a person.
Yeah, absolutely. So my book, my newest book, it was released already. It's called The Way of a Broken Heart. And it's a practical guide that it's really step by step is walking through next to someone that is healing from heartbreak. And it could be the loss of a loved one or the loss of a love, like you said, the loss of a relationship.
Hmm.
Because in both cases, we're grieving different degrees, grief, different shapes,
Yeah.
but grief is the main character in that story. So it's all about addressing that. And again, addressing grief and addressing that loss, not only from a mind perspective, not only from that psychological view or therapy from a therapist, but also from all the different things and all the different layers that are involved in that. How energy gets entangled when people are together, and how you can part ways, but you're still holding cords that attach to each other. And your mind is like, we're done, but energetically you're like so hooked, it's not even funny. So how can you address that? And that's just only one thing. We can go into inner child work, and there are so many different layers, and there are so many things that we have to address. Again, it's not about the mind. It's all the other things that make you this whole beautiful being, whole being that you are. There is so much more than just your mind. What moved me to write that book? This was inspired in my own journey. As I mentioned before, I was married and I was in a relationship for 15 years with the father of my kids. And we got separate due to different circumstances, but betrayal was the main cause of it. And it happened right. So it happened when it was just a perfect cocktail for a major shift and a major lesson to come through. It happened in 2019 in December. He left right before in February, it was lockdown. I lived in Europe. So it was lockdown with my kids. I couldn't go back to my home country. I couldn't go back to my family. And I have to go through all of that during lockdown by myself with my two kids, when I was absolutely cut off from everything, not only financially, but emotionally from my family and my net of support.
Mm-hmm.
To say it was hard is an understatement. It
I
was
bet.
really, really hard. But again, it's what made, from many things, is what created birth my book. And it's to all that things that I have to put in place, that I'm so grateful that I had the tools that I have learned in all my 17 years of practicing. But even for me, with all those tools, it was hectic. So if it was hard for me, how it is for someone else? And then again, I have to share this. And it's walking step by step for someone, because when we go through a heartbreak, they have different timelines, if we want to call it in a way. There's different periods that we pass, and you walk through all those four. So you feel a companionship, even if you're alone, like it was my case, and there's nothing there, not even therapy, because everyone's just locked down. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
Even if you're alone, you can still work through. So even if you're going to therapy or you choose not to, you can have a companion with you to walk by your side while you're healing your heart. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what this book is about. And it's really not only the mind, as I said. I share over 100 different exercises, practices, embodiments, that it goes from traditional therapy tools or counseling tools to shamanic rituals to address all the elements that make you a whole being.
I love that.
Mm.
Yeah, grief is such an interesting thing.
Mm.
I think what helps people to know, a misconception that people have, they want to bypass pain.
Yeah.
They don't
Mm.
see pain as a tool. They don't see it as a positive in any way. And I feel like that's what really needs to be debunked in order for people to reach that next level of healing, which is you got to feel it to heal it. You have to
Exactly.
release the energetic tag, the
Yeah.
emotional tag that's on each event, each person, every idea that you have
Yeah.
in your mind. There's this emotional tag on it. And what I find people have the most resistance to is when I have them go into their pain, they're so
Mhm.
like, no, I don't want to feel it. But I'm
Yeah,
like, we
of
have to
course.
go to the very center of it. We have to take
Yeah.
it all on. We have to feel it completely in order for it to dissolve. And another
Yeah.
misconception I see is that they feel like if they go into that pain, they'll never get out of it.
Hmm.
So, what can you say to the woman who's so resistant? I speak mostly to women, but really it's anyone who's so resistant to feel their pain, to go into the grief. What do you say to that person?
I would say that it's not the end. It might feel like it,
Hmm.
but it's your place of rebirth. From that crack open is what you truly find your most authentic self. Because there's all the parts that you have denied, all the parts that you have neglected, all
Hmm.
the parts that you have forgotten are there. So when you're brave enough and courageous enough to sit and drop into your heart fully, into every single part of your heart, that is where your rebirth happens. It's beautiful. It is
Yes.
challenging. I'm not gonna lie. I get goosebumps. It's not easy. And I understand that. And I understand that on humanness, we don't like discomfort. We don't like it. No one likes pain. No one likes to feel and go through all those yucky, let's call it, icky feelings. It's normal. You're a human. I am a human. I don't enjoy it either. I do it for a living. I'm not like, yay. No. But I know that that's where the key is. It's there.
Hmm.
It's for me going through it and not dwelling into it, because it's not about dwelling into it, but to just go there, pull the chair, like you said, and said, okay, there you are, my old friend. Let's do this. And I sit with you. I witness what you have to show me, what you have to teach me, what you're coming up. You're coming up for a reason. So, and we have this dialogue with that part. And then from that place is where the lights come after. But it's definitely is not an end. Absolutely, it's not the end. It's a beginning,
Yeah.
actually. It's the place of rebirth.
Yeah. And if we're looking at ourselves as the full being that we are, the spiritual
Mm,
aspect to us is the eternal aspect, right?
yeah.
And so when you talk about quantum healing, can you talk about all the different parts of our being and all the roles that they play and how you weave those together to heal the entire whole being?
Yeah. So most of the times, the first thing that in general we address is the mind, right? It's when we work with a psychologist or a therapist or a counselor, all these things. There's wonderful work. It's beautiful the work that therapists do. I do also as a therapist and a counselor. We do that, but that's the mind, right? That's one thing. There's another thing is the physical plane, right? Is my physicality. A lot of emotions get trapped in your body, in your
Mhm.
physical body. When trauma happens, and trauma is not only when you get physically abused, like it happened to me. Trauma can be if you were verbally abused, if you were with someone that it was narcissist, for example, and it was just someone that is constantly that could be is a way of abuse.
Mhm.
Whenever you encounter something in your life that make you contract so much, it's just that it gets trapped, and
Mhm.
it gets trapped in your body, and psychology is not going to untap that. The only thing that I can encapsulate that, it is when we go into that. There is many different therapies that you can do energy work, right? That energy work not only works in the energetic plane, like for example when you're entangled and you have cords that attach to your ex-partner, but also because your emotions were trapped inside of your body when the moment of trauma occurred. We can do that through breath work, like embodiment practices. There's different things that we can do to encapsulate that energy that was trapped. So then we go to that physical part, right? Then, as I said, the spiritual part. We're energetic beings. We're made of everything. Everything is energy. Everything is
Mhm.
energy. And all that is how can we address that? Okay, is this from this? You were entangled with your partner. Okay, let's do this. And then from we can do energetic healing, we can do quantum healing, we can do all these different things. If it's even deeper than that, that goes beyond this lifetime, that you have something that you're carrying from your ancestors, something from a different past life, we can do shamanic healing.
Mhm.
And then we go to a different realm and we work in that realm. But all those different things coexist. All of them coexist. So to address only one, to stay only with the mind, it's a very, it gives you a very partial vision of you as a whole. Because again, what happened with the other things? What happened with your soul? Where something that we do in shamanic work is a soul retrieval. When you go to deep, when you go to trauma, your soul gets shattered. And parts of your soul, that little shattered pieces, you keep going. You like, oh, okay, I dust off, and okay, off you go. You keep going with your life, but some pieces of your soul stay there. So with shamanic work, with the soul retrieval, we retrieve those parts of your soul and make you bring those parts of your soul again back. So there's so many things that play in this thing, in this, call it ecosystem, or in this wonderful tapestry that is that we are as human beings. As humans, and as I said before, we are multifaceted beings. We're much more than only our mind. We are our spirit, our soul, our body, our emotions. We're made of all of it. So we have to address all of them if we really want to truly heal something. We have to focus not only one, we have to cover all the different topics.
Yeah. And do you believe that we have chosen this lifetime, this lineage that we come into? Do you believe that that is something that we choose? And if so, how do we find those, we'll call them generational curses, as you spoke about with the family you came from and then what you experienced. What do you think about that?
Uh, this is my personal belief. I do respect and honor every other people's beliefs. In my personal view, absolutely, I chose this. I absolutely chose my family. I absolutely chose to have that father with that mother, that they to have this dynamic going on, that it needed to be present for me to really being able to walk the talk in a way, right? To being able to get all this experience and all this knowledge for me to help other people. I do believe that I needed to be physically abused to tap into that different energy that allows me to be a better vessel for people that comes to me, so I can relate from a place of my heart, not from my mind. I can read plenty of it. It's different to have read about it than have been there. It's not the same. So absolutely, I chose all of it, the beautiful and the ugly, and the easy and the hardcore. I chose everything.
Yeah.
I chose it. It was just perfect.
I
It was
believe that
perfectly
myself.
orchestrated.
Yeah, I believe that myself. I have similar story with very similar story with our fathers,
Mm.
the abuse and also the cheating on my mom. In fact, my dad died of AIDS, from this. And
Mm.
so it does, when we go through that compassion piece is so big. Like
Yeah.
you were saying, you say dropping into your heart. I see that's, compassion of like, I have felt pain. I can hold you through yours. And not
Right.
everyone has the personality type for that, but I believe a lot of us who came in, I'll use the word healers. I know that's not exactly accurate because we're all healing ourselves.
Mhm.
But I'll call us healers for lack of there's not a better word for it. But I
Yeah.
believe that we all did that. We all chose a more difficult and challenging past
Yeah.
so that we can have compassion, but then also like we had to heal ourselves. How could you know
Yeah.
how to walk someone through something that you haven't been through yourself?
Exactly. Exactly. And it's not only the compassion that is key, it's a place from I can see you.
Right.
I relate to you from here, from my heart, from my soul. I can connect to yours. I don't know the pain that you're feeling because I'm not you. We're different beings, we're different entities. But because I was in a situation very similar to yours, what you just said, share with your father,
Hmm.
I can relate from my heart to your experience.
Yes.
And that gives a depth and a connection and a relation from, again, not only from the mind, because from the mind we can study and we have all that we have from here. that you sit and you're holding space for that person and you could connect from a heart to a heart, that's a total different ballgame. It's just totally different when we're able to do that. And going back to what you were saying at the beginning, like, oh my God, why would all this thing happens to us? And why, how if not like this? How if not like this? We would be, how could I be able, or you, or any person that call themselves, let's just call a healer to keep using the same term. How could I sit and really hold space fully, completely for someone if I cannot relate, truly relate to what they're going through? How?
Yeah. It's not possible, I don't
It's not
think.
possible. It's just not possible. So that's why I'm convinced also it's when things happen, it's just this is why I'm so guided. I have to go through all this heartbreak. And it was not only, I mean, it was my ex-husband, but it was just being physically abused. I was engaged and my fiance canceled the wedding right before I have a dress. I have everything that broke my heart for him. Like it's different things that happen in life. But if I'm here to assist people to drop from their mind to their hearts and to stay with an open heart, despite of what's happening around you, how can I preach something that I'm not able to hold?
Yeah.
How?
And I'd love for you to get into how one lives from their heart. Like, because I feel like, yes, that's a beautiful, it's a beautiful idea that we all live from our hearts. But I think most people are saying, well, how do I do that? So how would you answer that? How do we live from our hearts and not allow ourselves to be jaded by the pains and challenges we've experienced, but to just drop fully in the heart and live there?
Yeah, I would say is that the first thing that came to my mind is a step by step. Is step by step. It's a long journey between here to here. It seems
Yeah.
like a short distance, right? It's like it seems very short, but it's a long way. I mean, for other people, it's shorter than others, but it's a journey. So the first thing would be don't force yourself. I have to be in my heart and I have to, and I have to be in my heart and I have to.
Uh-huh.
No, just be kind to yourself and embrace your humanness. We are also the fact that I choose to live from my heart doesn't mean that I don't get angry. I have kids. I'm a single mom, and my kids trigger me, the living Jesus out of me. And it's
Yes.
a choice, right? It's a yeah, I know, right? Or people, your coworker or something, or your parents. I don't know. It's
My
there.
kids.
Yeah, I know, right? I hear you, sister. So it's just, but it's a choice.
Yeah.
And it's a choice that we have to take over and over and over again. Maybe for someone that has been already enlightened, it's already there. It's no longer a choice because they're already in that space and
Mhm.
there's nothing to choose. They already have gone there. I'm not there yet. So what I would say for most of us common beautiful beings, right, that haven't been enlightened yet, if you want to use that label, is it's a choice. It's every single, not only every single day, every single thing that you do is to do it from this place. How would it feel? And we know, we just know. You feel it. Do you know when you're coming from this space and when you're not? And the other thing that I tell people is like, how can I distinguish when I'm there and when it's in my mind? If it feels expansive, like open, expanding, it's from the heart. And if it feels like ooh, contracted doubts, fear going and just like, that's the mind. There's just no question about it. It's just that's you're in your mind, you're not in your heart. And the other thing is that it's practice. It takes practice. And it doesn't happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight. Again, it could be happen overnight for someone, other people. I can only speak about my experience, and it didn't happen overnight. It's a daily choice. It's a choice that I make. And whenever I'm not able to make that choice, and sometimes I'm not able to, is to be compassionate with myself and said, Issa, yeah, we'll get it next time. It's okay, sweetie. You're just only a human and it's
Mm,
fine.
I
Let's do
love
it
that.
next time. And I don't have to just give myself, no,
Guilt,
I'm doing the best I
shame.
can and I'm
Yeah.
really trying, but I'm
Yeah,
a
I
human.
love that because I see so many people, so many of the women I work with, they just brutally attack themselves when they don't get it right, you
Mhm.
know? And
No.
so compassion on oneself, that little girl within us, is just so powerful.
Yeah.
One thing that I like to do to stay, like you said, it's about awareness, being so aware from the place in which you're expressing everything. So for me, I really work with color. Color is just one of those modalities that is everything for me. So I like to picture a color and then dropping it down into my heart and seeing my heart open up on every side, breathing from that place, and then seeing, usually I do this when I'm triggered, but I like to see that event, that person, whatever it is, I like to see it from that place of the heart versus the mind. Just
Yeah.
whoop, get on the elevator. Some people like to picture an elevator, pressing the button, going down. Okay, we're in the heart now. You're right. And I love that. I love that you talked about this, the way that it feels in the body, because people are also very unaware that if it doesn't feel good, it ain't good
It's
for you,
not.
girl. That
Yeah. Mm.
expansive feeling of like, oh, yes,
Yeah.
openness, like
Mm.
it just feels so much different. So I love
Yeah.
that picture that you gave everyone, that feeling.
Yeah, and the other thing that is really important, Tammy, is that you talk about different tools that we can use, and breathing is such a wonderful tool. And it's just, we take it for granted because we're like, what do you mean breathing? I'm breathing, otherwise I would be dead. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, I know. But it's just to really, I tell people, it's just one practice that we can do is just place a hand, one over your heart space and the other one in your belly, like in your all lower belly or in your, it would be your root chakra, and just drop into your breathing. Just take
Yes.
3 deep breath consciously, like just no, just for 10 seconds, whatever it's going to take you. Yeah, you breathe in, and with your awareness, because the intention, it's, I would say it's everything, but it's pretty much, yeah,
It is.
it is everything. With your intention and with every breathing, with every inhale, and you feel your heart,
Mhm.
your chest like racing, extending, expanding, and you dropping. I'm dropping into the space. And when with the movement of your chest, you just drop into the space,
Mhm. And
and we just
sometimes,
do that.
yeah, sometimes I just place my hand on my heart just to hook in, because you're right with the connection between the body, the breath, all of it is so interconnected. So just giving yourself that signal of like going into the body now,
Exactly,
connecting to my
exactly.
breath now.
Yeah, and that's another tool, and also helps you to drop from here. And
Yes.
if you're going all over the shop, like sometimes it happens that we get so entangled in our thought process that we lose contact from our, not only from our heart, from our body. That is, just use that technique because you're touching, so you're pressing, you're doing contact with your body. And if you just even do this, that it gives you, soothe you, and it brings you more present into your physicality, that
Hmm.
really can help you to do that. So intention and choice. It's choose to be, it's a choice.
Yes. I love it. Okay. So I want you to tell everyone where they can get this book from, where they can find you, all the things so that so that people can get to you, talk to you.
Yeah, of course. So, well, you can find me through my website. I'll have all my details. So if you can share that, I can say it here. It's my
Absolutely.
name. It's Issamary Blanco, and Issa is with 2 S's, and then Mary is Mother Mary with MMY. Blanco as the color white in Spanish. So isamaryblanco.com, that's my website. You can find me in the same way in Instagram. I'm Issamary Blanco on Instagram, and the same, you will find me in Facebook. So Isa Blanco Holistic Healing on Facebook. Those are the 3 places where you can find me. And my book you can find in different, like in Amazon. So you can have, if you're in the US, you can buy it through Amazon in the US. If you're in Germany, I'm in Germany, you can find it in Amazon Germany or in Amazon Italy or in Amazon. There's different other platforms. So the most well, like known for everyone and the most accessible one, easy one, it would be Amazon. Or I have my own stand store where you can have free meditations, free guides, like a lot of free tools that I have in my stand store that is also stands stored as Issamary Blanco.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Hey, I love those free tools because, some people are not ready to get all the way in the water. They just want to dip their
yeah.
toes in first. And so those free tools, I highly suggest you take advantage of those. Um, Also, I just wanted you to touch on the three other books that you've written, quickly, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, of course. So you can find them all on Amazon. Barnes and Noble too in the US, but let's just stick with that one with Amazon. So I have a book that it's all about natural like remedies for during pregnancy. How to, because when you're pregnant, you cannot take, medicines like
Huh.
traditional medicine we cannot do, but we can do natural medicine. So I divide it in different trimesters. I work with natural medicines. I said in the beginning, where I work with plant medicine, and it's all about every trimester how to deal with the symptoms that you get using just natural remedies, nothing chemical, just natural remedies that obviously are allowed or are okay for a pregnant woman to
Hmm.
take. I have two books for children. I have one book that it's talk about boundaries and relationships. That is Bailey and the Invisible Line. That is one children book. It's a beautiful story about teaching kids about boundaries. And I have another one that's called Invisible Line, and it's a journey through friendship. And it's also for kids to learn all about that as they're small. And I have another book that is called Sovereignty, that is all my story of coming from abuse and raising from abuse. Yeah.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Quite the writer, my dear.
I love writing. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it has been so very, very nice getting to know you, hearing your story, sharing all the wisdom. I thank you so much for being here. Um, yeah, I just think you're wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you so much for the time, the opportunity. And thank you to everyone that is listening. And if I can just say something to everyone, is that you're never alone. We're never alone. You
Hmm.
might feel, depending on where you are in your journey, sometimes it can feel very lonely, but we're surrounded by so many beautiful, so much support. The unseen that I don't want to, that could be a different podcast, and we talk about really spirituality and shamanism, but we're so divinely guided and so divinely supported and loved every step of the way. So never believe that you're alone. You're every single step absolutely love and support it. And that everything that happens in our life is guided. I know that's not sometimes life doesn't turn out the way we planned and the way we envision, but trust the process and trust the gap from where you are now and where you want to be. That there is a bridge, and that bridge, that gap has a meaning. And there's a reason why that gap is there. So trust that gap and where that gap is taking you.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.